Hello, I'm Pranija Padatori.
I'm Megan Huck.
I'm Emily Beitzel.
And I'm Amelia Jones.
And I'm Haley McKean.
This is our presentation on the Mindfulness Intervention Program we conducted in first grade classrooms at Riverview Elementary. Megan and I will be primarily speaking today since this is just one of the many research projects Dr. Liss's research team has worked on this year. However, Emily, Haley, and Amelia will be sharing their experiences at the end. We were able to run the Mindfulness Intervention Program with the cooperation at Riverview Elementary. Thank you to the first grade teachers, Ann Bernardi, and the rest of the school for allowing us to come into your classrooms to conduct the mindfulness lessons. Riverview Elementary is a Title I school in Spotsylvania County. In the 2020-2021 school year, they had 613 students overall, 97 of which were first graders. The student population is predominantly white, and approximately half the students are economically disadvantaged. Mindfulness is the ability to maintain awareness of one's conscious thoughts and feelings within the present moment with non-judgment and acceptance. There are many different ways to practice mindfulness. Some common practices are yoga, meditation, journaling, and mindful breathing. There are many benefits to mindfulness, especially for kids. Previous research studying mindfulness in children has shown mindfulness increases executive functioning, empathy, self-regulation, and attention, while decreasing aggression and anxiety-related issues.
The mindfulness program we implemented at Riverview Elementary School was called Mindful Schools. This is a 16-week curriculum designed for kindergarten through 5th grade with 16 15-minute mindfulness lessons. Our research team was only able to complete 8 out of the 16 original lessons. The primary focus was on teaching mindful listening, mindful breathing, mindful seeing, body awareness, and being kind to yourself and to others. Prior to each lesson, we were trained by Ann Bernardi, a social worker at Riverview Elementary. We had a total of 5 first grade classrooms that we worked with at Riverview Elementary. One classroom was completely online for the 8 lessons, while the 4 other classes were online through week 3. And then the classes went hybrid, so we were able to give the intervention in person for the remainder of the time. Prior to the intervention, each classroom was given informed consent for both the students and the teachers. The teachers were additionally given a series of teacher surveys and a student behavior rubric for each student. After the intervention, each classroom was given a debriefing form for both the students and the teacher. The teachers were given the same teacher surveys and the student behavior rubrics, as well as a qualitative question about the intervention. Due to COVID-19, our team did have to make a few procedural modifications to our study. Originally, we had planned for both a fall and spring intervention for a total of 16 lessons from the Mindful Schools curriculum. However, we felt it may be best to wait until the spring to give the school time to adjust going back in person. While we only did half the lessons, research from Black and Fernando shows that as little as a 5-week mindfulness intervention of this program showed positive effects. We originally had 2 student measures that asked students how they felt about their school and how they felt in the present moment. We felt these measures would be hard to get to students due to starting online and may make things more complicated overall. Lastly, we originally have 3 big data collection points before, during, and after the intervention. However, only doing 8 out of the 16 lessons all during the same semester, we decided to only have a before and after data collection since it was a shorter intervention. Teachers were given the 3 surveys that were geared towards their own thoughts and feelings. The first measure was the self-compassion scale, which is a 12-item measure of compassion and kindness towards the self. This measure had good reliability pre and post intervention. We also gave the teachers the teacher burnout scale, which is a 21-item measure assessing burnout among public school teachers. This measure had good reliability pre and post intervention. Then the teachers were given the mindful attention awareness scale, which is a 15-item scale designed to assess an individual's sensitive attention to what is taking place in their environment. This measure did not have the best reliability pre-intervention, but had good reliability after the intervention. We'd also like to note that we only received 4 out of the 5 post-teacher test packets after the intervention. Teachers were also asked to fill out the classroom behavior rubric for each student before and after the intervention. The classroom behavior rubric is a 4-item behavioral measure that has specifically shown to be improved by the Mindful Schools curriculum. After the interventions, teachers were asked to write a short response to this qualitative question, which asked teachers how they felt the Mindful Schools curriculum has impacted their classroom.
Before we present the results, we want to mention we didn't expect these results to be significant since we had complete data from just 4 teachers. The results for the self-compassion scale weren't significant, however, scores did increase from before and after the intervention. The scores were scored on a scale of 1 to 5. Time 1 had an average score of 2.83 and time 2 had an average score of 3.06. The teacher burnout scale was scored on a scale of 1 to 5 as well. These scores weren't significant either, but there was a decrease from an average of 1.58 at time 1 to an average of 1.26 at time 2. The mindful attention awareness scale was scored on a scale of 1 to 6. The scores increased between time 1 and time 2, with a mean of 3.56 at time 1 to a mean of 4.1 at time 2. However, these results were also not significant. These are the results for the classroom behavior scale teachers filled out for every student. As previously mentioned, these results are scored on a scale of 1 to 5. Attention has increased from an average of 3.86 to 4.04 between time 1 and time 2. Physical engagement increased from a mean of 4.12 at time 1 to a mean of 4.19 at time 2. Calmness increased in students from an average of 4.02 to 4.13 between time 1 and 2. Finally, levels of respect didn't increase, but they remained fairly high at an average of 4.5 for time 1 and 2. These results were not significant either, but almost all questions display an upward trend. It's important to note the results for attention approach standard levels of statistical significance. This is one of the responses we got from teachers from the qualitative question. The teacher wrote, "I loved having our UMW student come to our classroom. The students used mindfulness techniques even when she is not there. We love her and will continue to utilize the strategies." This is another teacher response we received. The teacher wrote, "I think this is an amazing opportunity for my kids to learn. Our UMW students did an awesome job engaging them and teaching them mindful strategies. I think especially with this year being so crazy, the kids really benefit from having this instruction. Thank you, UMW." When we conducted the lessons, we also asked students if they practice mindfulness outside of the lessons. These are some of the most common responses we heard. Some students mentioned practicing mindful breathing when they fought and got upset. Other students talked about using their anchor words. Anchor words are part of a lesson from week 5, and they're words the students use to stay focused on their breath and keep themselves from getting distracted. For example, while they practice breathing, they would say, "Breathe in the flowers and blow out the candles." Students also talked about using mindful breathing before they went to bed.
While none of our results were significant, it is important to note that they all trended in the right directions. Teachers reported better self-compassion and mindful awareness, as well as reported lower levels of teacher burnout after the intervention. The classroom behavior rubric showed positive increases for most of the items, but especially attention. We think this may be because most of the Mindful Schools lessons that we were able to do had greater emphasis on breathing and awareness. Also, based on our results, we think that mindfulness could be a potential protective factor, especially with stress and emotional distress. During this intervention, we ran into many limitations. COVID-19 has had a great impact on many people's lives, which could potentially lead to more emotional distress and disruption. The students had to adapt to new classroom regulations and conditions, such as online and hybrid classes. Our team had to revise and adapt to the new regulations as well, which decreased the total Mindful Schools lessons from 16 to a total of 8 lessons. We also had a very small sample size of teachers, as well as lost post-intervention data from Group 1. Lastly, we had no control group to make comparisons with. While we did come across many limitations, we saw that the results all trended in the right directions, and the students, teachers, and ourselves got so much from participating in this study. Now we have a personal reflection from each researcher about their experience. I was really excited about this study. I am currently studying to be a teacher myself, and mindfulness has always interested me as a classroom management strategy. I think that all students can benefit from mindfulness as there is such a variety of lessons that can be taught and reflected on. I'm so grateful for my classroom's teacher and for this opportunity to help current students at Riverview Elementary School in the knowledge to implement mindfulness in my own future classroom.
I really enjoyed doing these mindfulness lessons with the children. It was exciting to see them actively engaging and practicing these techniques. The word art here consists of some of the anchor words the kids used during the lessons. The anchor word lesson was really exciting for them because they got to pick their own words and everyone was able to get creative with it. And they were able to use these words to focus on their breathing. It feels like both the children and I were able to learn and grow a lot from these lessons.
I had a great experience with my class as well. I enjoyed coming in every week and learning more about my students and my teacher. I think the kids' favorite lessons, as well as mine, were sending kind thoughts and generosity. These are some images the kids drew for me. The first one shows them under a rainbow and a pretty blue sky, and the student wrote, "Mindfulness is fun." The middle one shows me teaching one of the lessons, and the student wrote, "I will miss you." The third student drew a pretty nature scene with flowers and a tree and wrote, "You teach the best mindful teach, and also thank you for teaching us." These pictures and sweet messages show the students using mindfulness and expressing gratitude. These pictures are really sweet to look at and always make me smile.
Like everyone has said, I also had an amazing experience. It was definitely difficult with all the changes we needed to make due to COVID, but I think that made it all the more worth it. On the slide, you see some drawings the kids did about mindfulness. The top two show the students in their mindful bodies, which is a skill we worked on a lot. So I was really happy to see that reflected in their drawings. The kids really seemed to enjoy our mindfulness lessons. My favorite lesson was the generosity lesson, in which we talked about small ways that we can be generous to one another and what we can give each other that doesn't cost any money. All the students got involved in that conversation and were eager to share their ideas. They even reported back some of the nice things they did. Overall, it was such an incredible experience.
I also had a wonderful experience teaching these lessons with my class. Although all of our lessons were done online, the kids were so attentive and engaged and had so many thoughtful things to say. In particular, they seemed to really enjoy the lesson on generosity and suggested many ways in which they could be generous with their families and their communities. They were always eager to report back on the ways that they had practiced mindfulness the previous week and shared that mindful breathing had helped them fall asleep at night, calm down when they were feeling frustrated, and focus more attentively in class. Thank you so much for watching our presentation.